Touchdown. He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown. Let's go! Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Dolphins! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. 1, 2, 3, let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. It's the tight end show on Phinside The NFL, as I don't think I've ever talked about tight ends the way we're going to talk about tight ends tonight, because it's not just a big board. We're going to talk about Durham Smythe a little bit here, Durham Smythe. But before we get into that, shout out to Griffin Gaming. He donated $5. He said, Reason, I checked out the Twitter thread. I see I was right about which content creator you've been alluding to recently by views. Hey, I mean, I put things out there. You don't have to be Sherlock, right? You just got to put two and two together. So, and then he corrected himself, and he paid $2 to correct himself. And he says he hates driving and sending super chats. Listen, this is why that worked out for me tonight. Guys, this is going to be the first, one of the few times you ever hear me ask, if you are able to donate, please donate tonight, because I can almost guarantee you I'm getting demonetized tonight off the all 22. So I have a feeling all these big board shows are going to get demonetized. The first one got demonetized, and that's just because the library I got access to. I got direct access to the library of, those who shoot this. So, of XOS Digital Sports. You've heard me talk about them and how they've been striking me over the years for the college tape. Well, guess what? Reason got direct access to their library this offseason, so we're good to go. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to get demonetized tonight. It is what it is. I mean, hey, comes with the territory. So, we'll be going over my top 15. I've never, it's not 20 like the running back. We've gone to 15 because, let's be honest here. If you want my honest opinion, once you start to get outside my, I like the 11th guy on my list a lot. I think he's a sleeper. Once you get outside of him, I watched about 22 tight ends, and we're not even worth mentioning. So we're going with the top 15 tonight. And then this week we're going to be doing tackles as well. So we're going to keep it moving along because I do want to talk about something when we get to Durham Smythe here in a second. Should we trade up for Darnell Washington? I'll talk about that after I do the big board tonight. All right. But I do have something I want to talk about that Patrons will know when we get to Durham Smythe. So I do want to go through. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Q, Marino's Goat, Brian, Barry Bailey, Robert Thomason, Jason Kick. Shout out to the homie Barry Bailey for the $13.99 super sticker. Appreciate you for coming through and helping the channel out on a show like this where I actually need it. Thank you. I appreciate that, sir, because I'm definitely going to lose some money in revenue tonight, but it is what it is. I do it for y'all. Shout out to, I appreciate that, Barry. I really do. Thank you very much, good sir. Big Heck in the chat as well. Griffin Gaming, obviously, we showed him some love. And he showed me some love. Always love Griffin Gaming. James Steele, what's going on, sir? Oh, I'm on top chat. I'm not even on live chat. Oh my God, I might have missed some names. Let me go back. Might have missed some names, and I did miss some names. Shout out to the homie Rome Gray. How you doing, good sir? Hope you doing well tonight. Darth Logan, how's it going, sir? Josh Miller, how are you doing on this fine evening? Scott Stevens, shout out to you. Swamp, you guys are your names. Swamp Donkey Crypto, we got your back, bro. Keep putting out great content. I will keep putting out great content for all of y'all. Don't worry. Shout out to Jethro. Appreciate you, sir. We don't want, we already had that. Exactly. So why are we going to, Stevie TV, how you doing? So why are we going to get into all the fodder? You know what I mean? Let's cut the fodder out. All right, we'll talk about UDFAs if we got to get there. You know what I mean? So please, guys, also do me a huge favor, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. We're about to hit 11.1, so we're on our way to 12 already, just like that. So let's keep it rolling. What's going on, Joseph? How you doing? Thanks for strolling in. I think this is going to be a really good show. I think y'all are going to learn something about this tight end class. Shout out to Mark Ozog for joining the Pro Bowl. Appreciate you. You can become a member by hitting the member button next to the subscribe button, or you can become a patron, patreon.com/Phinside The NFL. You can see the latest episode of 3 Takes, or as I like to call this one, it was the 12th episode of 3 Takes, but it was Toxic 3 Takes. So go check that one out if you want. And also, if you are a channel member like Mark just joined up, or if you are a patron, every time I get insider info, I post it on those 2 platforms. If you are a channel member, you can go to the community tab, check under the community tab, and you will see stuff that was there now that was not there when you were just a normal subscriber, including multiple posts. And if you're a patron, just go to the landing page and you can go and read back. Shout out to Robert Thomason. He knows what time it is. Robert Thomason knows what time it is. All right. We got to get this put on a shirt. Got to get this put on a shirt. You already know what time it is. You got a Luigi. Well, speaking of Luigi, man, I'm taking my daughter to the her first ever movie experience this weekend. We're going to see Super Mario Brothers when it comes out. She's a huge Mario fan. In fact, her birthday is next month, and I'm buying her a Nintendo Switch because she's just so in love with Super Mario right now. So pretty excited about that. Man. I'm actually excited to see the movie. I think it's going to be good, man. You know, I remember growing up and NES and Duck Hunt, and oh man, so it's nice to see her taking on, that. It's nice to see her become a gamer in front of my eyes. It's awesome stuff. So we already, she played Harry Potter with me steady. She loved playing. She created her own. I helped her create her own character, and she played Harry Potter steady with me. She's played NHL with me. What else has she played with me? Baseball. She plays the show with me. So we're going to get her into Madden. Madden's a little complicated, though. She ain't ready for Madden yet, though, because Daddy takes Madden a little too seriously. So she ain't ready for that one yet. You know what I mean? So she's only, she's going to be 5. So it's pretty awesome, man. She loves gaming a ton. So awesome. Maybe, and positively, guys. All right? Maybe rub off on her a little bit. Maybe she'll become a Twitch streamer. You know what I mean? So Griffin Gaming says, oof. Yeah, bro. I don't lose in listen, I remember. I'm going to take y'all back. Let's talk football. Let's relate this to football. For all you old heads, all right? Anyone who remembers PlayStation 1, all right? Go back to PlayStation 1. I am super reliable, William Farrell, and we'll talk about that when Durham Smythe talks about. When we get into Durham Smythe, I'll show you just how reliable I am and why you should sign up to the Patreon. But do all of y'all remember Game Day? If you're in the chat, do you remember the Game Day games? They used to have like Jerome Bettis on the cover of them for PlayStation. Let me know if y'all remember them. The Game Day back in the day. I want to see if the chat remembers them. Jason remembers it. Brian, you're probably too young, I assume. Because we're talking like 98, like 97, 99. We're talking like going back. When it wasn't just Madden as the only NFL rights thing. And listen, my dad, all right? Because everyone who knows the story knows I am a Dolphin fan. Yeah, exactly, with the crowd noise. You know what's up. Jethro knows what's up. Anyways, so my dad used to, he wouldn't play me unless he could use the Dolphins. All right? So I'd be like, whatever. You can use the Dolphins. It's all whatever. Buddy, I used to run the score up on that guy. And we're talking, I was like 13, 98, right? I used to run the score up on him. He used to throw the controller down. And I had told myself, as a young kid, I will never let my kids ever do that to me. I don't care if I got to keep gaming until 60 and be whipping on my grandkids behind on Madden. I ain't never letting that happen, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'm the same way. Griffin Gaming says, I can't say much. LOL, I customize my own offense, defensive playbooks. I build defense first. I always build offense first, you know. Bother. NFL Blitz, never mind that. You know what they need to bring back? Blitz the league. That's what needs to come back. Bring me back Blitz the league. All right? Bring me back Blitz the league when you could like break ankles and, you know, Lawrence Taylor was on the cover and stuff. That game was amazing. You could juice up if you were players. That was amazing. Blitz the league was fire. Shout out to Pound for the $2 donation. Appreciate that, man. That'll go a long way towards making up. Griffin Gaming. Oh, bro, NFL 2K. The one with Sap on the cover. The one with Sap where you could see through you could play and see through the face mask while you're playing. That 2K was out of this world, man. Out of this world. Listen, I'm going to say even this. Even NCAA games were better than Madden. To me, the peak Madden was when it was an NCAA did. Okay, so the NCAA that year, you will all remind me in the chat, I'm sure, because I don't remember the year. But NCAA that year, when you did the creative player, every year you went to a better dorm room. Like you upgraded into a better dorm room. Then you could export your player into Madden. And then in Madden, as you went along, you upgraded to a better living quarters. And that was the menu in the be a player mode. And that was the same one that had, I'm pretty sure that's the same one that had, it would cut to the radio show. It had the radio show segments would play like what you hear on the show and stuff. I don't remember what year that was. I want to say it was like 05, 06. Something like that. That's when like Madden peaked. That's when Madden peaked. And NCAA has always been... Was it 08, Jethro? I don't remember what one that was. But that was like 05, 06, I thought. And NCAA, like, you felt it, man. Was it Madden 08? Destin says it was Madden 08, so maybe it was 08. Wow. I thought it was before that. Anyways. Dude, like, NCAA, the crowd noise, you felt like you're actually there, the rumbling. Crazy, 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 crazy stuff, man. Yeah, I hope they don't ruin the NCAA franchise when they bring it back. I ain't gonna lie. I hope they do not ruin that. Griffin says, my personal favorite Madden was 05. I like the sound. The radio show. I remember the radio show one. That's the one I'm talking about. The radio show one was 05. Okay, so then was 08 the one where in the NCAA you had the dorms, the better dorms on the menu, and then when you went to be a pro in Madden, when you exported your player, was 08 the one where you went to a different housing setting? Because I remember you had like an apartment and stuff like that. And you could, like, here's the thing. If you're going to do something like that, screw your storylines. Immerse players in it and make you feel like you're the player. So what do I mean? Do off-field activities and do them for years. Like, SmackDown versus Raw used to, the SmackDown games used to have that where you play years of the story mode and the stories would you could go down these different paths and blah, 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 blah. Why can't they install it in this? Don't give me 1 year of some story about some jabroni I don't care about. Give me years of stories. Build tension as a vet between you and a rookie receiver if you're a quarterback, or you and the quarterback if you're a rookie running back and you don't feel like you're getting enough handoffs. Like, build, like, story arcs and paths. Don't do that kind of jazz. You know what I mean? Make you actually feel like you're in it. So that's my problem. Like, it just, Anyways, the word on the street on Madden is a lot of people think that their asses are on the line in terms of a job. I would play as an O-lineman in the career on 08. Really? I've never actually done O-lineman. I need the glory. I've never done an O-lineman. Obviously, I do quarterback, wide receiver. Back then, at least, when you could do all the different positions. Safety would always be fun to play. edge would always be fun to play. So, anyways, all right, we're gonna get into this here. We're gonna start off, and we're gonna because I want to tie this into something here. Let me just make sure I got my ducks in a row here before we get into this. But we're gonna start off with the Durham Smythe stuff here. All right, and there is something interesting here. Hold on, let me just bring this up for all of you guys here. I forgot, I should have brought it up, but I forgot to, so I'll do it right now. Let me do it right now, because if you remember, if you're a Patreon, I had an update about, what was that, about a week ago, about draft rumblings I was hearing, right? And in that update, one thing I mentioned was about a defensive lineman. So let's get into this. So starting off here, Durham Smythe. All right, guys. Durham Smythe, out of nowhere, the extension comes, a 2-year contract extension for $7.75 million with $5.5 fully guaranteed per source. Deal includes a raise to $4.5 million for 2023. Max value of $8.75 million. I've been telling all y'all for quite some time that they love this guy, right? People tried to laugh at me when I said that they love this guy. And now they extended him. I want you to think about this. Durham Smythe got an extension and they let Gesicki walk. Think about that one for a sec. And in case you are wondering, given the show we're doing today and this signing, no, this does not stop them from attacking the draft. And, this shows you what they value at the position. Shout out to Pound for becoming a member. This shows you what they value at the position. All right? This shows you y'all had it all wrong, all those people who were mad that Gesicki went. Y'all had it all wrong. And this is a player they like. He does all the things that they ask him to do. And guess what? He's grown as a receiver every year. This is also locking it in where, guess what? If the draft doesn't go their way, at least they know they've got Durham Smythe for more than just this year. So, listen, Saubert's still on a 1-year deal, and Tanner Connor is still a developmental prospect and project. So, tight end is not off the board in this draft by any stretch of the imagination. I just think, like I've been saying recently, 51 isn't a given with tight end. I've been trying to tell you guys this. That's why I've been bringing up offensive tackle. But if you're a Patreon, you know that I brought up what? What did I bring up? Right? On Patreon, I had a post. All right? And I'm going to read you a bit of that post right now. Okay? It was 5 days ago on Patreon. All right? And what I said was, I was told, and I quote, they've been sniffing around a lot at interior defensive linemen. This isn't regards to replacing Wilkins either, as this source reaffirmed to me that Wilkins' new deal will get done. It's just a matter of timing. But I was told it's more so in regards to how things may shake out with Zach Seiler. This was 5 days ago. And when we were live yesterday, what did I tell you that when we read what Barry said? What did Barry Jackson tell you in his article? They haven't even had contract extensions with Zach Seiler. Lines up, right? So now I said a few names I've been told the Dolphins are quietly high on are Broderick Martin, defensive tackle out of Western Kentucky, and Carl Brooks, defensive lineman out of Bowling Green, who I was told is scheduled for a top 30 visit. That's what I was told. He's scheduled for top 30 visit, okay? What happens today? Right? This is why you got to join the Patreon. This is why I'm not like these other people out here throwing stuff at walls hoping it sticks. Barry Jackson. Dolphins have begun summoning prospects for draft visits. Edge player Garrett Nolson among them this week, per Nebraska source. Bowling Green DT Carl Brook has said he's taking a 30 visit to the Dolphins. So, interior defensive line is on the docket. If you were to ask me those first two picks, I don't know if running back's in play, guys. In those, it might be running back feels like it's going to be in play, later on. Potentially UDFA, right? Like, especially a name I had in that same update that I just read to you guys. I had a name, and it was a UDFA name. It was not a top 3 round name. Let's put it that way. So, I'm getting the sense offensive line, tight end, and interior defensive line are in play here on those first 2 picks. And running back, if someone they really like falls into their lap, like if Gibbs falls at 51, then okay. But that's not going to happen. But that's where I'm going with that. Like if someone they like a lot falls into the lap, like I know they like Sean Tucker a lot, right? But they're not going to be able to wait around till the 6th and get him. So, it's going to be interesting. They're giving themselves options. I would say those are the 4 main positions at play right now with the first 2 picks. And running back is probably 4th on the list. So that's how I see this one potentially playing out. In terms of Durham Smythe, I'm a fan. I like it. It's a good signing. It's a good lock him in. I'm okay with that. So, we'll see how it works out, but that's where it looks like it's lining up for right now, just to prepare you guys before we head into this, right? 260 of you guys in the room, smash that like button, please. All right. That said, let's get into this big board. All right, we're gonna get into this big board. Listen. We got all 22 for the top 5 guys as usual. I think this draft class is strong. I think it's deep. I just think once you get out, once you start getting outside a certain, like there's a drop off from the top 4 to the next tier, right? And you start getting into guys who need a little bit of development in their game, right? So, listen, I like my top 11 guys, but 11 to me is like a sleeper, and we'll get into him because you'll see him first when I bring this all up. So, anyways, and I got to say this before you get into this. That Darnell Washington film, if you have not had a chance to just dive into his film, my God, he's a fun watch. Like, and you really look at, they just started to really feature him as a weapon this year, and my God, the ceiling of him as a weapon in the NFL. Nothing to shake a stick at. So let's get into this. I present to you my 2023 tight end big board for the NFL draft, featuring a lot of targets for the Miami Dolphins. That makes sense. At number 15, Jaleel Billingsley, out of Texas. So, for me, with Jaleel, it's crazy because I remember how touted he was a couple years ago. Like, I remember how touted he was. I really do. And now, I've got him 15 on this list. He's a good athlete, fluid in space, offers yards after the catch, good catch radius, and strong, reliable hands. To me, he's very limited as a blocker. Actually, and he needs a lot of work to even be considered for inline usage at the next level, which is why I don't really know how good of a fit he is with the Miami Dolphins in this draft. And listen, I just remember how highly touted he was, and what the tape said was like, nope. Number 14 for me, Cameron Latu out of Alabama. Actually quite impressive and developed route runner. He's got good hands. Good twitch and lateral movement. Shows really good acceleration in open space, so I like that. Play strength isn't great as a blocker and sometimes at the catch point. 13 for me out of Purdue, Payne Durham. Very reliable as a pass catcher with a super low drop rate. Flashes the ability to catch through contact. Isn't very explosive and doesn't offer a lot in open space due to a lack of burst and acceleration. Shows great strength at the point of contact. The point of attack, but when blocking. But sometimes, technique can lapse. Josh Weil, Cincinnati. He can stretch the field and shows reliability in the red zone, as well in an offense that, quite frankly, held him back. Loves the physical aspect of the game and is super tough to bring down in space. An okay blocker who could be really good if he develops his play strength, as his technique and willingness is really much more than enough needed at the next level. So here's my big sleeper for the draft. Number 11 for me. Number 11 for me is Will Mallory. He's an explosive athlete who offers playmaking ability after the catch. Opened a lot of eyes at the Senior Bowl onto how good his hands really are. He's a really good route runner. He can easily win vertically and ran the fastest 40 of all tight ends at the combine, 4.54. I think he's quietly slept on as a blocker. He's quite efficient at it, and he's one of only 2 tight ends in this class with a top 10 receiving and pass blocking PFF grade. So I think a lot of people are sleeping on good old Will boy here. Will Mallory, to me, he's slept on. He's good. I think he's, don't sleep on this kid, Do not sleep on this guy. He's another guy that screams, late round, man, I don't see him going in the top 3 rounds. I see him going in, the 4th, 5th round. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Imagine if he's a UDFA. My Lord. No way, though. Let's get in. Oh, he can block, Jason. He can block. He can block. Like I said, one of only 2 tight ends in this draft with a top 10 receiving and passing block PFF grade. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now, let's start off. Let's get into our top 10. Number 10 for me, Davis Allen out of Clemson. Big, strong player who knows how to utilize those traits well in the blocking aspect of his game. Though he is a better pass blocker than run blocker. Has sure hands. He can move the chains and offer a red zone threat in any offense. Has a pretty good catch radius, but doesn't offer a ton after the catch. Not really explosive or elusive. Really strong at the catch point and shows a knack for winning 50-50 balls when tasked to. For a guy his size, he's 6'6", 245. He shows tremendous body control as well. Overall, he shows a high ceiling with some development. I like Davis Allen out of Clemson. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Number 9 for me, a guy that we know the Dolphins are really high on, Brenton Strange. Might arguably be one of the most underrated tight ends in this class next to Will Mallory out of the U. Excellent blocker who had a top 10 run blocking grade in 2021 and a top 5 pass blocking grade in 2022 with PFF. Offers a ton after the catch as a receiver because he's just so tough to bring down. feeding off playing through contact and broken tackles. While I think some people overlook his ability as a route runner, he sinks his hips really well at the top of his stems and breaks them off pretty crisply. Scheme versatile, can play in line or flex outside, which again, huge for a McDaniel offense. His biggest downside, I'd say, is he isn't as explosive as an athlete in terms of speed and acceleration. Like, he's not going to blow away from defenders, but he offers a lot. Number 8, wherever you are, Rome, sorry, brother. Well, not really sorry, because I really like the kid. He's just number 8. Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan. He's such a good blocker, whether he's in line, on screens, or in open space at the second level. Shoemaker, he really brings his lunch pail to work. Really good athlete, too, at 6'5", 250. Moves fluid laterally, accelerates well. His 4.63 40 for that frame is nothing to scoff at as well. Another scheme versatile guy that, you can trust in line or flexed out as a big slot. I think he's a really good route runner. Has pretty soft hands, and at the next levels, I think he could exploit the seams a little bit. For a guy with all the athletic tools he has, I will say this watching his tape, you would expect more after the catch. That's the one thing that surprised me. For as athletic as he is, and you see the way he moves on tape, I was surprised at he was not an animal after the catch. You know what I mean? So that was the now at the next level, maybe that changes. But I was shocked because the kid's athletic. For his frame, the way he moves, very impressive. I was just surprised that I wasn't seeing much more after the catch. That's it. Number 7, you know me, I love this man. One of my man crushes of this class, Zach Kuntz. Incredible athlete. Has the number 1 relative athletic score dating back to 1987 out of 1,054 qualifying tight ends. Had the second fastest 40 at 4.55 amongst tight ends at the combine, along with a 40-inch vertical, a 10'8" broad jump, 23 bench reps, a 2.61 20-yard split, a 1.55 10-yard split, a 4.12 shuttle, and a 6.87 3-cone, all at 6'7", 255 pounds. Are you kidding me right now? That is incredible. He's a really good route runner, too. Shows twitch, has the ability to use his body, or you see him use stab steps. I've seen this guy use stab steps with the best of them. Twitches his head, digs his foot into the ground, boom, pops out, and he's free and separated. So he just doesn't rely on his athleticism to create separation. Very impressive. Flashes dominance at the catch point and on 50-50 balls, while displaying reliable, sure hands and the potential to be lethal, almost indefensible in the red zone. Zach Kuntz, now, he is a willing and, well, he's 23 reps. He's a strong enough blocker, but his technique lacks with his hand placement, and you can catch him lunging. But overall, I believe him, Sam Laporta, and Darnell Washington have the highest ceilings of this class. That's what I believe from watching these guys. Don't sleep on Zach Kuntz. He's raw. He needs development. But he's already shown enough at Old Dominion, of all places, that, listen, he left Penn State, went to Old Dominion, balled out. I think Zach Kuntz, you let McDaniel, Embry, and Frank Smith get their hands on Zach Kuntz. I mean, these guys who are known for developing George Kittle, Darren Waller, Jordan Cameron, Chris Cooley, etc., etc. They'll turn Zach Kuntz into something, man. Trust me. You see the willingness, you see the strength, you see the play strength. He just needs to be cleaned up technique-wise. See, notice, if you listen to what I'm telling you, when I get into blocking of these people, I'm telling you either it's core strength or technique-wise. Core strength guys are the ones you need to worry more about than technique. Technique can get coached up. Core strength is on the player. You got to hit the gym. You got to grow into your body, etc., etc. Right? Now, when you get into guys like Zach Kuntz and Darnell Washington with your technique, and it's not so much with Darnell, but it might be at the next level, you're going to have to teach them leverage techniques as well, because at the next level, at their size, guys are going to try and take advantage of that. And then number 6 for me out of Oregon State, Luke Musgrave. Even if me and Neil heard what we heard. Really good athlete, displays good short area bursts, who's also shifty and deadly in open space after the catch. Has good hands, isn't afraid to take on contact at the catch point, and he's got the ability to make those contested catches. He's a smart player too. Get the football in his hands, and it's obvious he understands angles and has the vision of a playmaker at the position. It pops when you watch him in open space with the football. Now, the other thing, too, is I was really impressed by the size of his catch radius. It was much more impressive than I thought it was going to be. Now, he's going to need work as a blocker. Again, he comes down to technique. His issue comes down to, a lot of you see, his pad level. He plays at a too high of a pad level when he goes in, which can be coached up. I think he's strong enough. But another thing, like I said, me and Neil have heard, Luke Musgrave's missed a lot of time at Oregon State due to injury. And we've heard, this guy will miss time for, a hangnail. But, hey, what happens in college is in college. I leave it in college. I'm basing it off what I see on film, not off a thing I'm hearing like that. So I didn't put that into play. It's not even the evaluation of him. I'm just letting y'all know. So, just something to keep an eye on. All right? But, listen. Big fan of these guys. I'm a fan up until 11 here. Will Mallory, Davis Allen, Brenton Strange, Luke Schoonmaker, Zach Kuntz, Luke Musgrave. I like a lot of these guys offer things that I think our coaching staff could turn into something very viable at the next level. So, big fan of all of these guys. All right? Now, let's get into the top 5. All right? Number 5 for me, let's get into it. Out of South Dakota State, Tucker Kraft, strong, reliable blocker who displays a high IQ in picking up blitzers and finishing off his assignments through the end of the whistle. Perfect fit for the Dolphins scheme, as Kraft is a guy who's comfortable in line in the slot or lined up out wide. 6'5", 254, fluid mover, and Kraft absolutely gallops in open space with long strides while threatening the second and third level, especially the seams. Kraft is an animal after the catch. He can stiff arm you into oblivion, shake off shoulder tackles, run through ankle tackles, and overall is just a tough human being to bring down. He can out-muscle or out-athlete defenders at the catch point, which shows up on 50-50 catches or in the red zone frequently. Really good ball tracker, too. Can follow it over his shoulder or through traffic. Good soft hands, but can sometimes become susceptible to body catches. He's going to need to definitely clean that up at the next level. My biggest downside on him, and you see it really when you look at the film here and the highlights I put together for you guys, it's probably his lack of acceleration. Kraft, he's one of those guys, he needs to build up speed with momentum. That's how he gets going. He chugs. He's a chug-a-lug. He'll chug, chug, chug. But, man, he's a great player. He offers so much at the position. Big fan. Dalton Kincaid, number 4 for me. Such a good route runner that displays great body control and fluidity in space, as he always finds a way to get open and makes himself a viable target for the quarterback. Great quick feet, sinks his hips well at the top of his stems, and doesn't lose a step in his play speed as he goes in and out of his breaks, helping him create consistent separation. Just an overall smart player. Can find the open windows in zone or he can win straight up against man coverage. Can play in line or in the slot. Again, another guy who is scheme versatile, doesn't sell the play of the defense before the snap. Finished second in 2022 among all tight ends in the nation in both yards and tight ends. He had 890 yards and 8 touchdowns. Goes up and gets the ball in traffic with no fear, and some of the best hands in the class, making him a threat anywhere on the field, whether contested or not. High-level motor, too. Doesn't stop working as a blocker or a pass catcher until he hears the whistle. To me, here's the issue. He's going to need to become stronger at the point of attack to become a reliable blocker at the next level. The effort is there and the will is there, but the core strength is not there. So that's why I have him a little lower than most, because he is going to need to become a stronger player at the next level. And it's one thing to do technique. It's another thing for me to bulk up and get that strength. But as a pass catcher, he's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Number 3 for me, Sam Laporta. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe Laporta, Washington, and Kuntz have the highest ceilings of this class, and I'm saying that about Laporta after watching him in the most hindering offense of this class as well. Imagine if he was in an offense that could utilize him. Laporta had the third fastest 40 at 4.59 of this class. Has smooth footwork, runs really solid routes, and can be relied on to get a first down when your offense needed, as he had the 4th most third down conversions in the nation with 32. Arguably the hardest tight end to bring down in this class. Wakes up, gets out of bed, and breaks tackles. Broke a tackle on 27% of his receptions over the last 2 seasons, while having the 2nd most forced missed tackles in 2022 amongst tight ends. Like others mentioned who fit the current offense in Miami, Laporta too has shown the ability to flex in line or out. Understands how to use his body and ability to separate against man, as he had the 2nd highest PFF grade against man coverage amongst draft eligible tight ends, but also displays the necessary football IQ against zone to find the soft spots. Might be the best seam threat in this draft and is a serious mismatch for linebackers. Now, he's got the core strength. He's got the effort. He's got the will. Again, another guy who he needs his technique cleaned up a little bit. That's all he's going to come down to is technique. But you watch Sam Laporta, my God, get him in this offense. Michael Mayer at number 2. One of the most complete of this class, minus a few drawbacks, and honestly, one of the safest picks, I think, in terms of high floor. I think he's a high floor, low ceiling type of player. He's basically almost complete. Arguably the best route runner of this class, stems his routes well, sinks his hip and is fluid at the top of his routes, creates separation against man, finds holes against zone. Really good run blocker who's also quite reliable and pass pro as well, displaying good strength and technique consistently. Linebacker or defensive back, it doesn't matter. Mayer is strong and tough and too tough to outmatch for contested balls, making him ideal for the red zone and 50-50 throws. Displays great hands that have natural stick-em on them. He makes the dirty hands in the mud catches through contact when required. He's also known as a team leader with a strong work ethic, and he's the perfect addition to any NFL locker room. He's 6'4", 265, and it shows. He's a mountain of a man to try and bring down, usually requiring multiple defenders to try and stop. His only downfall is he isn't a home run threat, and he lacks the burst and explosiveness to be a consistent yak threat. But besides that, he's pretty much one of the most complete guys of this draft. Again, low floor, high ceiling. I don't think there's much development left in Michael Mayer's game. Reminds me a lot of Andrew Thomas a couple years ago when he was coming out. Sure bet almost, right? At tackle. Darnell Washington, number 1 here. Best blocker and most physical player of this class, and it's really not even close, as Washington is just so fun to watch and dominate with his blocks, truly looking like a man amongst boys at times. He isn't a freak. He's an absolute specimen at 6'6", 264 with a 4.64 40, a 4.08 shuttle, and a 10-foot 2-inch broad, all blended with the strength and physicality he plays with. Has a motor that doesn't stop and is always looking to make a play, whether the ball is in his hands, as he can rack up yards after the catch, or if he's trying to take off someone's head as a blocker if he isn't tasked as a receiver. Finally saw a little bit more volume in 2022 as a receiver, and I think he answered the call with a career year showing he has a ton of untapped potential to build off of. He's a definition of a mismatch. Linebackers don't stand a chance over the middle, and defensive backs don't stand a chance on one-on-one 50-50 balls, not to mention the mismatch he poses for defenses in the red zone. Displays great body control and can get above the rim against defenders while also having reliable, sturdy set of soft hands when catching the football. Has arguably the largest catch radius of this class, which will make him a quarterback's best friend at the next level. Just throw it to his area. Look at his block here. Watch his block here. He's going to drive the man up the field. Look at that block. Come on. Where Washington needs to improve is as a route runner and with his route tree. This is mainly due to a lack of usage up until 2022 and not on the player himself, so he can be coached up. He is a monster, ladies and gentlemen. Darnell Washington is an absolute monster. Someone tell me he isn't. My God. Whew. Darnell Washington is something to behold when you watch the film on him. I don't know what else to say. People are asking me, should you trade up for Darnell Washington? Listen, I wouldn't trade up into the first round. But if he falls into the second round, you make the move and you trade up for him. You go and you make that move. If he is within striking distance, you make that move. I would argue Laporta's worth moving up for, I'm not talking like move up to like in the 30s, but if you're at 51 and Laporta's still sitting there at like 45, 44, I would think about making that move just up 6 spots just to be sure that I lock him in. I think that's a smart play. Now, Darnell, I would listen. If Darnell gets into the second round and we're into the 30s, I would consider moving up into the 30s to go get Darnell Washington. 110%. He's worth that. The team that I think he might not make it past is Green Bay. So, listen. How this basically works for me is Kincaid, Laporta, Mayer, and Darnell are all 51, or as I said about Darnell, he's worth trading up for, and Laporta's worth trading a little bit up for. Right? So 51 range. To me, at 84, that's when you get into, like, if he's still around, Tucker Kraft, right? Luke Musgrave, Zach Kuntz, Brenton Strange and Schoonmaker. Those guys would be perfect if we had a 4th round pick. But now they turned into cusp 84 picks. This is why I think if the board isn't falling their way, trade back from 51, stay in the second, trade back to the back end of the second, right? Try to acquire a 4th round pick, and now you have, right? Now you have a second, a third, and a 4th. And you can get a tight end, a tackle, and an interior defensive lineman or a running back, whatever you want to do. That, to me, seems like the smartest move. Now, whether they do that or not, that's up to them. I don't know. But, to me, that seems like the smartest move. So, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I don't know how you guys view that. Guys, there's about 300 of you in the room. Please do me the favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. And you know your boy's about to get demonetized. So, subscribe. Smash that like button. Help your boy out any way you can. James Steele says Darnell could be Kittle on steroids. Darnell Washington is going to be Darnell Washington. Like, where's Luke Schoonmaker against Iowa was throwing dudes are out of clubs. It was ridiculous. I saw that. It was ridiculous. You want to know another ridiculous game too? Dalton Kincaid this year against USC. Dalton Kincaid against USC, that man was destroying you. He had over 200 yards against USC. He just ate them up. Just destroyed them. I was like, holy. Dalton Kincaid, to me, if that guy had core strength, if Dalton Kincaid had core strength and Dalton Kincaid was a good blocker, Dalton Kincaid, to me, would be vying for the top spot in this draft. It'd be him or Darnell, probably. But when you don't have the core strength, that worries me. Because now you got to rely on... Listen, we don't know these players from a can of paint. All I know is the tape and what the tape tells me. Even the interviews. I'm sure all of you guys in the comments right now have gone and had interviews in your life where you've talked yourself up. But, you ain't really all that. I can't make a judgment on his work ethic. The reason why I know so much, about Michael Mayer is, I know a few people that covered Notre Dame. And one of them I didn't even talk to. Probably the most plugged in I didn't talk to. And I heard this from someone else who covers Notre Dame. So, Mayer is dropping. Why reason? Because, you don't want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because Kincaid is the best receiver, so everyone's going goo goo gaga over what they can do with him as a receiver. I can see that. Darnell Washington is just an absolute freak, right? Because remember, Michael Mayer was considered the number one tight end at the beginning of this year. So even me having him at 2 was a drop. Darnell Washington is a freak, so people are loving that. And the only one else, Laporta. Laporta is a better athlete. Right? Laporta is a better athlete. So, again, because of the athleticism, that might be dropping Mayer. But I do not see Mayer dropping anywhere farther than behind those 3 guys. Like, I don't see Tucker Kraft getting drafted before him. I don't see, you know what I'm saying, where I'm going with this? I don't see Luke Musgrave or Zach Kuntz or, I don't see that happening. Darnell Washington and Laporta off the athleticism. Kincaid, what he offers as a receiver. Kincaid's a lot more Gesicki than anyone in this draft. Kincaid right now looks like a slot or an outside guy who you would have to clean him up technique-wise to throw him consistently in line. But because of his willing and effort, he can go in line, so you can use him there if you want. He's not a wash, but he doesn't have the core strength right now to be effective enough to what you're going to need him to be at the next level. Reason if we don't trade up and get a tight end or right tackle, what do you think about trading down? Yeah, that's what I said earlier, James. Trade down. Listen, if the draft board does not fall the way you want it to fall, trade down and try and acquire either an early 3rd and an early 4th or a late 2nd and a 4th. I'd be going for the late 2nd and the 4th. Trade back in the 2nd to add a 4th. If it's not going the way you want it to go. So now, if because you're going to target someone that you're going to trade back into that range of, if it's a tight end or a tackler or an interior defensive lineman, take them there. Then take best player available at another position of need at 84, and then do that with the 4th round pick you've acquired. I think that should be in play based upon how the draft board falls 110%. That's what it needs. That's what it needs to be in play. Right? That's what it needs to be in play to me. If you can trade back a little bit and get a Matthew Bergeron, right? If you can get a Matthew Bergeron and still trade back a little bit, because I don't know if you can trade. You won't be able to trade back. If he's there at 51, you won't be able to trade that far back. And I like him better than Blake Freeland. And, they like Blake Freeland. So maybe they trade back a little bit and they take Matthew Bergeron or Blake Freeland in the 60s. And then at 84, now you take your tight end, right? Now you can take, a Tucker Kraft if he's there. Or If one of the interior defensive linemen are sticking around, you make a move on that. And then at that 4th round pick, now you can probably, if that 4th round pick is like around 100, Zach Kuntz and Brenton Strange and Luke Schoonmaker still might be there. So, but if you're going back to like 120, not all 3 of those guys are going to be there, I don't think. So, I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out, man. We will see how it all plays out. We will see. So, guys, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We had over 300 people tune in today. Appreciate y'all. I know these usually don't get the traction that the normal shows do, but hey, please do me the favor. Smash the like button. It takes 2 seconds. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. If you'd like to donate through the super chat or through PayPal, paypal.me/Phinside, because these type of shows do get demonetized. And that's why I appreciate all of you who donated today. And I appreciate all of you who smashed the like button and share. Let's get this out into this algorithm. Even if it gets demonetized, let's still have Dolphin fans seeing this so they can see some of the options we got at tight end, all right? Shout out to 1017, man. Great content as always. Appreciate you. 1017, man. He also became a member recently too. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you guys for the constant and continued support. I will catch you guys on the next one. Remember, no finish line this week, but there will be a Fin Too Deep. But I will be back this week. You will see me a lot. So, and we'll be coming with the tackle big board this week as well. All right, guys. So I appreciate all y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. I love each and every one of you. Again, please smash that like button. Shout out to Griffin Gaming. He says, I think Miami ends up with Schoonmaker. Personally, Rome Gray would be doing backflips because he's been wanting him for months. Appreciate you, Griffin, for all the donations tonight. Good friend. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. I will catch y'all on the next one. You already know what time it is, baby. Fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we will lay. Again, thank you so much. I hope you'd enjoyed it. A lot of work goes into these type of videos for all of y'all guys, especially this weekend, man. My Saturday, I finished this before I started watching WrestleMania, so I was up until about 5 a.m., clipping, and then I started watching WrestleMania about 1 a.m., and then I was up until 5 a.m. So a lot of work goes into this stuff. I appreciate all of you guys who support and show your appreciation just by even smashing the like button. Thank you, guys. See y'all on the next one. Fins up, baby.